So I'm
Yeah.
seeing now that we are live, and today our guest on the show is Nick Paro. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, publication, and anything you're working on, feel free to go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I'm excited to have a little bit of a break too. That's, the yesterday and today have been a rough start. So I'm glad to be here. I'm Nick Paro. I am the author of the Sick of the Shit with Nick publication. I do political, social, and patriotic poetry. Um, and I'm a Army combat vet, a disabled veteran, the tech deconstructionist. Just lost my job about 2 months ago. So anyone
Oh,
who's willing to come support me, please do. I love paid subscribers. Um, but and I was a musician a long time ago, or wanted to be. And so I leaned on poetry when I lost my job, and instead of getting super depressed,
Oh, yeah.
and depressive, I wrote poetry, and hopefully I'm doing something constructive, to change myself. And now I've gotten really active over the last couple weeks. Not only with my publication, Sick of the Shit with Nick, I started the Banner and Backbone media publication with Frederick Pogue and Lawrence Winterman. And we do civic-based content, specifically starting with the Epstein saga and all the things going on. We launched a couple weeks ago now with a 24-hour live event that we did. Um, and we're working with folks like Ellie Leonard, Melissa Corrigan, and Shane Yurick.
I was very curious to ask you about some of the logistics around the 24-hour live, and I'm sure I'm not the first to do it, but I only managed to stop in for a couple intervals of that. But what were some of the constraints of going live for 24 hours straight?
The biggest constraint actually was we couldn't do it straight for 24 hours because
So there did need to be some interruptions.
there was only one real interruption, but we
Okay.
broke it up into different segments. And we did that because there's no way for Substack to let you hand off lead of a show.
Mm.
Um,
Yep.
Even under a different publication, like
Mm.
we couldn't just
Um,
I mean, maybe one of us could have taken over as like Banner and Backbone, the account, but there's no real way to like shift
Yeah.
who's the head of a live. So we did it in rotations of 4 hours.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the only break that was in there was I fell asleep in the middle of the night because I was exhausted, and I have fibro and I don't wake up very easily. And I slept through six friggin' alarms that I set like 2 minutes after each other, too, for like 10 straight minutes at 3 in the morning. Didn't wake up for a single one of them. Um,
I've
but I
known
woke up
people who are
an hour
capable of
later and I was
sleeping
like,
through
oh
alarms.
shit.
I've known people who are capable of sleeping through alarms, but man, that's never been a talent I've been capable of. If I hear an alarm, I
I
just
normally
visceral.
snore
Oh,
louder than the
horrible.
alarm.
Yeah. Some people are just heavy sleepers. I am one of the lighter sleepers possible. If somebody cracks open my bedroom door, I hear it.
it depends on
I
how important the appointment is. I'm more likely to sleep in the more important that the alarm is for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be it too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in Afghanistan, I learned to wake up to like alarms and stuff really, really, really quickly. I think I've just shut it off because before that, like I used to sleep through fire alarms when I was a kid. My parents would set them off like in the house to do like tests and stuff. There was one right outside my room. Always slept through it. My parents were like, "You're going to be the one who stays in the fire," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna feel no warmer than my room already does.
Yeah,
So what am
if
I
fire
gonna
doesn't wake
notice?"
you up, then I guess it's all good. Yeah.
I'll never forget my one friend I had regular sleepovers with throughout elementary school had four alarm clocks stacked on top of one another in the pre-smartphone days, and I'm just like, dude, you are a freaking psychopath.
But it's true.
How about the ambient light type alarm? When you have you ever seen? I like those better, where it just gets brighter. Those actually wake me up, but
Yeah.
not good for
Heard
you.
about those.
Yeah. Maybe
Or
try
the
something else.
flying ones. I had a friend who had one that with it had like this little drone that like shot off it, and you couldn't turn the alarm off until you put it back on its spot.
Oh,
That
God,
was
you
the
had to
worst.
find this thing?
Yeah, you
Oh,
have to find the damn thing. So you're waking up not only mad now, but now you're tripping over shit trying to find something with the alarm.
yeah, everything can be destroyed. I mean, if the task is to put the thing on the thing, I'm gonna find the other option of like destroying the thing that's making noise. Then there's the beds that like just flip straight up. Maybe you should get one of those, the bouncy out of beds. Ooh.
The Jetsons whole bit.
Yeah, like the Jetsons. Ah,
I'd
well,
be
that's our
I'd
segue. Okay, go ahead.
only if we could have the robots and the cool stuff.
Oh, the
we,
robot
we
maid.
did
Yeah,
we did already get the FaceTime. They did prophecy that.
Yeah,
I want the flying
they did.
card. What year is the Jetsons set in? Did they ever say?
Yes, I think they did.
We don't have to look it
So
up. That
so
I'm no,
somebody knows.
I'm
two
I'm
two
curious.
two brief tangents I wanted to briefly touch on before we get into
Yeah.
entertainment. One, I love to see the American flag behind you. It's a shame that that's been so co-opted by Republicans these days, when it still is possible to be proud of this country, even if not of the current direction that it's headed. So I just
Mhm.
I do like to see that. It doesn't need to be a Republican only thing. And
And I've been when I've gone out to those peaceful demonstrations, I've always been so proud. And that's been one of the things everybody's done. They're like, no kings, and they put out the flag. And yeah,
yeah.
that's a good
Mm,
tactic.
yeah.
Yeah,
That could be
that
our side. If we surrender the flag, then we're out of luck, I think.
that's a big thing that I like to do is I actually when I go to protests, I'll bring little American flags and I'll hand them out to people. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everybody's waving American flags, and my thing is like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do with a bunch of Americans waving American flags? You're gonna
Yeah.
start beating on American flags
Right.
and
Yeah.
desecrating the American flag because then you go to jail. Like if
Yeah.
they light one of our flags on fire on accident, they go to jail, right? For the rest of their or death
Yeah.
penalty or
According to
whatever
that
stupid shit that is. Like they're
lawfully dubious
dumb.
executive order that just got signed, which doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah. They should be
Doesn't make
arresting
sense.
all those guys for their violating flag code with they desecrate the flag all the time with the things they changing the colors and putting things on it.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I
not
actually had
even
thought of printing
it's
out
not
flag
really the
code and putting it
changing the
on cars.
colors. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the underwear. The ones that gets me are the people who wear the flag on their junk or on shoes. Like you're literally stepping on the flag or you're
Yeah.
wearing it on your butthole. Like that's rude, man.
Yeah.
Like all against flag code.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Uh, I
Uh,
really like the idea of the Donald Trump and George Bush toilet paper, but this time around, I just don't feel comfortable desecrating my asshole with
you knew
Trump's
it
Trump's
was going
face.
there. You might
Yeah,
get some kind of a rash. Yeah. You don't know what
Exactly.
would
Yeah, it's
happen.
just it's something that you I like to have around in theory so people know that I would,
Uh,
but when it comes to the actual moment, I just don't know if I can stomach that.
no,
But
I could
on
burn it
another
though.
uh deeply unrelated note, I think that I heard you mention once before today and again today as well that you briefly were exploring being a musician as a path.
Yeah.
Do
I
you still
went to
play at all, or what was that all like? My dad's a musician myself, and I love to
oh,
play,
okay.
so I was just a bit curious.
Yeah, so I went to school for music theory and composition
oh,
at Carnegie
Wow!
Mellon.
Oh wow!
And so I did classical music theory. I wanted to go into sound engineering and like game and film um
Mm,
writing. Um
oh,
but I didn't but I wanted to go to there was a program at Carnegie Mellon that I wanted to go to, but it was way out of budget and I couldn't
mm,
afford to go to it. And it was like 3D world building
okay.
and like collaborative design team building for like small business incubators almost. But it was heavily focused with like collaboration for the arts and
mm,
musicians um and so I wanted to go into film and game and like that sort of stuff.
mm,
I always loved it. It was a little weird, oddball in my family. Nobody else was really highly musical. Um, and then I sort of lost it for a long time. I have a piano at home. I play the saxophone. I have a baritone sax at home.
I
I
play the baritone
have.
sax as well.
Do you?
Ah,
You look like a
Ah,
bari
no way,
sax
no
player.
way. Oh, that's awesome. You
Yeah,
look like a baritone sax player.
I have a bari sax, a soprano sax, like two or three clarinets, a wooden like Aboriginal flute from
Hmm.
Hawaii. I have a Navajo flute that I'm learning how to play from when I was in New Mexico. Um, yeah, and I'm a vocalist.
awesome.
My
That was my primary instrument was voice.
Yeah, wow,
I
that's
was
awesome.
like,
I didn't realize you played the saxophone too. My dad leads a band in the Philadelphia area, and his primary saxophones have always been the soprano and alto. And for me, I started on the alto, but as soon as I first explored the baritone in eighth grade, it was just an immediate connection for me, and
Hmm.
that's the only one that I really still connect with to this day, and try to make a regular point of playing. But it has made me sad sometimes accepting that it's probably not going to be the professional path for me, and that
Hmm.
writing has always been a talent that's come a bit more naturally.
I,
Yeah, for
I would go ahead.
no, for me, I think I figured music. I love music, but I think poetry, to be
Hmm.
honest, is really where I
Yeah,
found myself.
yeah.
And so I'm happy about that.
Speaking of poetry, did you happen to see the Peter Jackson "Let It Be" documentary? Where they kind of they went through all the because it was originally a film in the 1970 or so, but he went through all the original footage and recut it to like a 4 hour film. If you get
No.
a chance to watch it, what the real thing that resonated with me about, because it's this documentary about the Beatles making the Let It Be
Yeah.
album, and the thing to me that was really just kind of blew my mind was that they would sit there and they would do the music for like Let It Be, and they're like, when I find myself, and it was like the melody dictated the words, and
Yeah.
as a writer, I'm just like that. I never thought that was even a possible thing, and I guess it's fairly common among people who compose music to do it what I think is backwards. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I didn't
That's
learn until
actually how
fairly
I.
late in the game that they actually have a pretty limited music theory knowledge, and they were just approaching almost all of their music pretty just intuitively.
Hmm.
What are you gonna say next?
Yeah. I was gonna say is like it's actually somewhat similar to how I approach it. It is a little backwards, is
Yeah.
like, but all the word like how I write my poetry is all on rhythm and how the words like mesh together. And sometimes I'll catch myself and I'll trip myself up when I'm like, oh, that doesn't match like what I'm doing and it doesn't fit right. And I'm like, the words are wrong now.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do that too. Where I rhythm is so important, no matter what you're trying to write, whether it's deliberately a poem. And I just like kind of lately, I'm doing a lot more since I've been doing the voiceovers. Just throw a little bit more rhyme in there, and I think it just that captures readers a little bit more. As long as you're not like really, as
Yeah.
long as it really isn't disjointed. But sometimes if you just sneak a little bit of rhyme in there, it just helps the whole flow of the story a lot more.
It's always
Yeah.
strange for me how much I love the rhythm of individual sentences and how much I still struggle when it comes to applying that same love to poetry. Because I really do think about that constantly, how words sound together and the little rhymes and alliterations in sentences. But then when it comes to just being free form and yeah, there really is a wall that I've struggled to get past there. And
It's
I
like jazz.
yeah, yeah.
It's like freeform jazz. I kind of figured out some poetry is like it's like this long spoken word that some people really want to just like they get on a tangent and they just ramble forever. And you're like, man, this poem could have ended 30 minutes ago and we would have been fine.
Sometimes though the rhythm kind of adds to the meaning, or the rhythm suggests the meaning. There's something to
Hmm.
that. Joe just put writer and songwriter musician here. The words and melody are at the same time. So, but I'm not prolific. So I think that's the thing. There's no one way to do it. But I just thought that was the real big takeaway from that Let It Be film. That was on Disney Plus. I watched that. I had that on when I was like on my treadmill. It was good for that. And you watch it in sections because I don't think you'd want to like sit down and have that be the only thing. Somebody just put jazz. So yeah, that's good too. But I always like the musical approach, like the musical minded approach. That's because that's not something I really understand. My daughter plays the piano, and we'll be watching shows, and she'll just be like, oh, or she'll be listening to songs, be like, "Oh, key change," and she'll just notice things that I don't notice. So, and then she got me the other day. This is a good daddy having to demonstrate that he was wrong story. Because we were driving along and Piano Man comes on. I'm like, oh, you should learn this one. This one doesn't sound too hard. And she goes, how would you know, Daddy? And I'm just like, you're right. You are right. I wouldn't, it might be the hardest thing in the world as far as I know. So I shouldn't have said that. You're right. Moving
You
on.
know, funny you say piano. My mom actually, when she was in college, listened to Billy Joel live at one of his live piano concerts in like a small bar, and it was one of the first times he ever played that, and I was like, "Mom, get the fuck out of here! You get to go do cool shit." Um, and do all this fun stuff when you were younger. We didn't have like, and then she stopped me from going to a Rush concert in Montreal my senior year before I graduated, and now Geddy Lee's dead, and I can't fucking go see Rush anymore. I apologize
Rude.
if I
That's
swear.
not,
I swear a lot.
Oh, you can swear.
Okay.
oh, that's fine.
I got my daughter the music for Snoopy. I'm just like, you need to play this. This kills. If you see a piano and you sit down,
Hmm.
I don't know if people still know it. I don't know if people still know that, but that's
My
jazz piano, right? I understand
Hmm.
that's pretty well respected.
my elementary school music teacher, Mrs. Tice, who I still remember very fondly, would play that song for us every music class as we gathered, and it would
It
just
makes y'all happy.
it was so perfect. It was just the warmest way to enter that room, and I had her all throughout elementary school, and that was a recurrent motif in that class.
It's another case though, because I bought the book of music, but I can't read music, so I'm like, I would assume it's in this book of music. It's peanuts, but maybe it's not even in there. That's happened to me in the past too. You buy like a movie score soundtrack and it doesn't have the one song you really liked from the movie. It's like, how's
Yeah.
that not in the score?
Yeah. It's like this was the lead song. What are you doing? Why is this not here?
Oh boy.
It's
Yeah.
also like
So,
the credits of movies. I don't like when they do the alternate artists in the credits.
oh yeah.
Like Frozen, let's say, like the credits of the first Frozen movie, it wasn't the same woman singing um, any of the music, so it didn't sound the same. I was like, this is why?
Mm.
Like you
Yeah.
have two perfectly good, like multiple perfectly good vocalists who were singing with you for you, and why'd you use a different version?
Yeah. It's probably because it wasn't in the contract of the person who's the actor, and they're like, "Oops, well, I guess if we were to put this on the soundtrack, we'd have to pay that person more." That's what I assume is the case and things like that. No, I was like the musical approach from a musical standpoint. Like what came to mind right away was Amadeus. I know we haven't talked about that one.
Mm,
Have you guys both seen Amadeus?
been
I've
a
seen
long
it
time.
twice. Once recently, and it's a terrific movie. Really makes you wonder about Mozart as a person. Like you just think of him as this brilliant musician, and don't ever think about the crazy character he actually was. But yeah, it's a really interesting movie. I really enjoyed that one a lot.
I think that was actually required watching while we were in college. I think we
Okay.
watched it
Yeah.
at least once or twice. Because I mean, he's a crazy dude. And his history is interesting because I mean, it shaped most of modern classical music. I mean, modern classical music, as dumb as that sounds. Um, but it really did shape most of the classical era of music and Baroque and brought forward music. Um, but he was like a nuts drunk
Well,
and a womanizer and
I think that's kind of interesting though. It's sort of like the 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 geocentric model of the universe where it's like we want to think of ourselves. So they want to think of like creative brilliance as like this gift from God. But then the reality is that these creative people aren't like that, and they're kind of like, and so they want to impose. And I get that too. And yesterday when I was talking with Will about how to be more productive with writing, it's like, it's not just sit in front of your computer and start to write because we can't dictate how inspiration comes. inspiration comes whenever it comes, and
Hmm.
when you become more productive as a creative person, you end up not fighting that. See, that's the thing. I think that's what holds people back, because they fight that. They want to be like, I have to go to my office and work, and it's like, no. The reality is, you wake up at 1 in the morning and go, aha, and then you start to write, and then you start to paint, or you do whatever it is. And then, so you can't hold regular hours. So
It's some
it's important for us to break those kind of molds, I think.
Yeah, something that that I find is if I do try to write 7 days in a row, that a couple of those days kind of end up being unproductive by default anyway. So it's the
Yeah.
same effect as if I had just given myself the time off. Because I don't know, I think your brain does kind of need those couple days off in order to rejuvenate and for things to feel fresh. And also, whenever I go away for a week or return from vacation, I feel as though there's this real resurgence of creative energy afterward too.
Yes. When I did a book with Janet Morris, and she was editing it, and I was sending her like the rewrites, and I was pushing through. I was like, I would set the number of pages I needed to do. Like, got to get 10 pages done. But she'd get the rewrites, and she'd just signal, and she's like, you got tired right here, and you have to redo this. And she would like always notice it. It's like, oh, it was good, good, good. Oh, you're tired. She would just leave the note in the manuscript. I thought that was interesting that she could pick up on it. It's like, but
I
that's what
haven't been
happens with work.
writing long enough for that to be. I don't have anybody who looks over my work typically. I've had one person review my work once, and it was my wife. Um, and it was because I started writing about, I did the poems about Epstein, but I named them. She was like, everything's fine, except you have to rename it so that you don't get sued. Um, and so
Yeah.
it became the Ronald and Effrey saga, um, instead of whatever. And she's like, that's good enough. Um, but I do get what you mean about writing every day, though. Like, even though I write poems I don't actually write poems every day. Like I put out poetry each day, but some days I might write two. Maybe I don't write any. Um, and I'm starting to understand that that's also okay. Like, I don't have to put out a poem every single day, um, to be a successful Substacker and successful uh, poet. Like, I can put out a poem less often as long as they're good. Like, I'd rather they be good poems than just putting out poems.
Uh,
Um,
What I what I'll do for a break is my little cartoons. I'll do my little sketches, and it's just sort of like, I used to do triathlons, and so
mhm.
you could do like you'd train for the swim, then you'd be too tired from swimming, but you could go on a bike ride. It's weird how it's like so like you get those kind of complementary creativities that somehow by the act of drawing a cartoon, I feel renewed to then go write something. So, but it is like a full break. It's like engaging the same muscles, but in a different way that kind of helps replenish the other ones. So.
Yeah, I
Plus, it
sometimes
gives me
find that
energy.
playing music can be stimulating before writing.
I bet so too. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
music
other
has a
things?
lot of really good impacts on things. Just in general, like music
Yeah,
makes things better. Even if it's like
yes, it does.
depressing music, it still makes it better because you have music.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird how there's a real catharsis in listening to sad music during a breakup, or just even sad music in general. It's yeah, it's you wouldn't think that it helps, but for some reason it just I can't even
There's a lot of
articulate why exactly it is that it helps, but I'm sure a ton is written on it.
there is actually there's an entire music psychology or musicology side of the world, and it's all about like audio processing and how that impacts the brain and memory. And they've actually found a lot of really good corollaries between playing classical music. We were talking about Mozart, specifically the Mozart effect, um, is a memory effect. Is it cues and keys in memories, and it helps people with Alzheimer's. Um, and it brings back key memory functionality somehow. I don't know the science behind it, but there is science behind it that they're doing a lot of research around. So if it's not like predictable all the
Yeah.
time, but it does have a positive feedback and positive impact overall on restoring memory, or
Do
helping remember.
do you guys listen to
Right.
music when you write or not?
I can't do it, sadly. I have the hardest time listening to movies, TV, or music while writing. I feel like I need to be in a near silent room for me to be at my maximum potential. But forgive
That's
me
true for
right
you
now while
too.
I try to remain placid as a yellow jacket hovers around me. This has been happening for the last 2 or 3 minutes, and I've been
Oh,
just
there's a
trying to.
bee.
You've
there's
been
always there's
looking pretty
always
good.
some
Like
drawback
you've been
to
keeping
attempting
it. Don't.
to do these outside, whether it's
I,
the heat or the insects or the something or other. But
I hope that's a setup, and now like some guy in a bee costume comes running up behind you in like 5 minutes, like
Yeah,
stabs
yeah.
you with a sword.
I got you.
We got to do more fun stuff in our lives. That would be perfect. Hopefully,
We need more
my
pranks in our lives.
my
Um,
uncle is currently visiting right now, and he's persuading my dad to become a musical thanatologist. And I'm not sure if you guys know the term thanatologist, but it's essentially somebody who studies death and works with dying people and helps people to just
oh
process the nature of dying. And my dad already is somebody who frequently plays for dying friends as they're approaching those final
wow,
moments,
yeah,
and has a real background in psychology too. So it would be such an interesting thing for him to try to bring those talents together. And I'm now fully encouraging him to pursue this route. It's a slight tangent, but you
oh,
reminded me of that with
definitely.
well,
your.
that's fascinating. I bet he's observed some things that would be of value for all people to know about. We don't, and we avoid that. And well, you were talking before about processing emotion with music, and I just read a book by Allison Atchison called Blue Hours, and the whole book is about processing the loss of a spouse. And it was just like, even when I started to read this, I'm like, but then it's like you
Yeah.
do kind of settle in. It's like, okay, I'm stuck in this moment, and it's sort of like processing the death of a nation, like we've been doing for the last 7 months. But it's sort of like sometimes you just have to fall into that moment and just like, okay, accept. There's no escaping this. I got to find a way out. I have to go through it. And just yeah, the more insights people can offer about that process, the better, because we're going to be facing that one way or another.
Yeah. No, I think the more that's one of my things that I've been trying to say to people in general though is be more creative, be as creative as you can right now. Like even if you don't think you're that creative or you're afraid to put your creativity out. Like 2 months ago, I was
Yeah.
afraid to put my creativity out up on poetry. Like I put it out there and people liked it. And even if they hadn't in the amount that they have at this point. Like I'm really lucky. I feel really
Yeah.
fortunate that so many people have liked my poems and I've grown a lot really quickly on this platform. Um, is just put yourself out there too, because people need to hear it. Like your stories, our stories
Yeah.
collectively need to be told, or else nobody's going to tell them. Like,
Yeah.
tell your
Yeah.
story, write your own autobiography. Like, everybody should be writing their own autobiography. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised to discover you said what everybody else is thinking and didn't have the
Hmm.
courage to say. And then it becomes we start manifesting a better world just because everybody starts speaking these things.
Yeah.
But talking about biographies, I've always reviewed a lot of independently published books, and without fail, the ones that are always interesting are the autobiographies or the memoirs where people just talk about their lives. And I read one that was really interesting because it was like a guy who grew up like it would have been like a 3 hour drive from here, and like it was offset by like 3 hours driving and like a decade. And it was
Hmm.
just so weird how similar it was to my life, but there's little changes here and there. But things like that where it kind of gives you this context of where you fit into, space time. It's always kind of interesting. Talking to somebody like Bob Dana too, the nuclear physicist. That's like an alternate life because I have a my degree is in English with a minor in physics. And there was a time I kind of flirted with the idea of getting a master's in physics,
Hmm.
and I could have maybe gone down that route. So it's interesting talking to him. It's like this is the life I could have had. And so it's interesting. It's like an alternate version of yourself you meet. I think that's cool.
Yeah, one of my best friends went the physics route in life, and it is a very, very different road. There was a long time growing up where I was very, very mathematically oriented, and that all changed around middle school, high school, and now I wonder how there was ever that part of me that could pull off a feat like long division.
But I mean, music guys tend to be It's just that precise way of thinking and like the whole scales, the physics. I had a whole physics class called the science of musical sound. Yeah, I'm not really a musical person. When I listen, I can't have total silence because I have kids, so I listen to ocean waves. So I have this
Mm.
recording of the ocean, and it just goes away. So I was going to ask that too about if you're listening to Mozart, if it just disappears, because I go like I take my deep dive into my subconscious, then I have to get back to the surface when it's time to come back to life. Half the time I read what I wrote, don't even remember writing it. So it's just sort of like, just like get it. I'm like a conduit to the source, is the way I like to put it.
I
But
like listening to folks like Claude Debussy. He's my
okay,
favorite composer. Um, he was an interesting person. He died fairly young. He had synesthesia, so he could
Mm.
hear sound and see. He had the actual physical manifestation effects of it, and you could hear it in his music. Um, because his most famous piece is La Mer, and literally about the ocean. And
ah,
it sounds like waves in the ocean because he heard he could feel the sounds and the movement and the way that he uses tonal walls as they were described in our music theory. Like it's a tone wall, like it's this chord of notes that's almost the entire like scale, but it's purposeful in ways, and you hear all these like undertones, and I can get lost in things like that when I'm writing. But the problem is like I start writing in the style of somebody else when I listen to their music,
I
or
got
stuff,
that.
and it like sort of like pushes my style towards somebody else's.
I'm curious whether you guys experience synesthesia at all as a spectrum, because for me, I don't identify as somebody who fully has synesthesia, but I would say that there are many nouns that objectively are certain colors. Like days of the week are strong ones for me. For like Monday is a blue day, Wednesday a yellow day, and Friday a red day, and Thursday well, purple orange, but it's not something that's like very obtrusive for me in my thinking, and many objects and things don't really come with associated colors, but there's like a sharpness or a softness to many words that I feel like is kind of useful thinking about in
Mhm.
colors, and it's kind of manifested in the way that many nouns in romance languages are given genders. Because like why would a chair have a gender, or why would a stereo have a gender, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's an interesting thing.
I see that. That's cool. I like the idea of that as a spectrum. I've never thought of it as a spectrum in that way. Um, but I would agree.
Thought of
Um,
what? When you say it,
Synesthesia. It's
as
sorry,
I'm
go
waiting.
ahead. No,
No, well,
synesthesia as
what?
a spectrum.
Okay, I don't like the word. I'm picking up the meaning, but can you give the definition of the word synesthesia? I haven't heard the word before.
It's a it's a medical condition where you hear or process sound auditory. Your auditory processing is linked to your visual processing. So you see or hear colors.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Colors elicit or sounds elicit certain
Mhm.
emotions or are tied directly to an emotion. It's where you get the concept of blue is a cool color and gentle, or
Yeah.
red is angry, because those are synesthesia colors. Those are synesthesia emotions and
And
approaches to colors.
and now actually migrating over toward film, I'm thinking about it. If we didn't all experience synesthesia to a
Yeah.
certain degree, then why would the gradings of colors in movies have the effect that they do? You know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
looking at
I
film
was thinking of
posters, why do you look at it that way? Because
Yeah.
color
there's
elicits
the
certain
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, there are cool colors and there are hot colors, and they are
yes.
compared with certain emotions, and I think there is a universality to how a lot of those are received.
There's the book Moonwalking with I think it's called Moonwalking with Einstein, and it's talking, and I vaguely remember something in there about a person who had a tremendous memory. I think it was related to this. So I was getting confused with all my concepts. But yeah, where it's like if you that's the book where they're talking about memory palaces. You've heard of those memory palaces where you think of something in order to remember like a list of groceries, you like
Yeah.
think of walking through your house and you set the groceries throughout your house. I when we read this book, I read this. I'm like, this will be useful for my kids because I flick this kind of thing on my kid all the time. I'm like, let's practice this. Let's practice making a memory palace because they give you an example in the book. And then like my daughter, like the next day, she's like, oh, I tried a memory palace on this test. It worked really good. I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad you have more tactics.
I
So
really love the
no, I
way
just
that
think,
the
and then there's the
Hannibal
aspect of when we're writing. Go ahead.
I really love the way that the Hannibal TV show explored the concept of memory palaces. Not nearly enough people saw that show, but it is just a really,
Oh,
really worth checking out for anyone who ever enjoyed Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of that character, because I think Mads
okay.
Mikkelsen
Is that
blows
the
it out of the
one?
water.
Matt Nicholson, I was going to say. But then I was going to get to the concept of it's black and white text, you know? And so it's like that is kind of a weird concept where you write the color green just to kind of in your imagination, then you have the color green, which is kind of because there's books, and I remember I would always pick fantasy books. I know you had the D&D T-shirt on before, Nick, and that was always I see that and I'm just like, oh, I like, and even your figurines in the background. It's just like I just like the whole fantasy. That's my escapism, you know, going out into nature. But you could the next best thing is bringing the Lord of the Rings to class or something, you know, and it's like I'm gonna
Yeah.
take a walk in the woods, even though you're just reading this book that's in black and white text. So I think it is important though too when we're writing. Well, not it's particularly when I'm writing stories for my kids. Color is an important thing, but it is a funny idea when you think about it that it's all just stating the colors, and then the color erupts in their mind. Even when music then can also represent color. You're listening to
Mhm.
certain music, it has certain things.
Specific
Yeah, no, that's
sounds
fascinating.
can have very specific colors associated with them, like specific notes on a piano or a specific combination of notes where they create an overtone, which is the tones literally the tones over for those who are not musicologists or those who did not study music and audio engineering. But I had the fortune of doing so, so I can explain it a little. Is overtones are when you stack tones on top of each other to create, and I'm doing this for a reason because they go over each other, and they are like when you listen to Mongolian throat singing, let's say, and you hear them do those like that really deep resonant sound, and then on top of it, you hear other pitches and other sounds. Those are called overtones. And so musical overtones provide a lot of color palette to, yeah, dissonance, and
Mm.
they provide a lot of color palette to music. So if you listen to, like I said, La Mer is a really good example of it from Debussy. um Another one of his pieces, Prelude to an Afternoon with a Faun, is um
Uh-huh.
is another one. You feel like you're literally running through a forest. It's also one of the most famous flute solos in from French music, and from the early 19th century, turn of the 20th, like early 1900s was when Debussy was around. I studied with his teachers, or
Ah.
he taught someone. I studied with Nadia Boulanger. Her student was one of my professors for a little while,
Mm.
for two
Oh.
summers. And she worked with Debussy and taught with him. And I actually played on one of his pianos in
Mhm.
Paris. It was super freaking cool.
What and what you're saying now too makes me think of Fantasia, you know, when
Mhm.
we're and they kind of really play with it there, don't they? Where they boom, and then they like flash a color at you. And I think maybe that, I mean, however accurate
It's
it is,
like
but it gets
blacks
back
and
to physics too.
greens.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to physics too, because, you know, sound, it's the vibration. Light is also vibration. So then it makes me think of my conversations I've been having with Will Fullwood, how you need that we need to act in accordance with our inner vibration, our what resonates with us. So just thinking of these things, this is all disconnected, but it's just like I just kind of like how there's some apparent similarities here between all these ideas, and it kind of just brings me comfort to know, hey, maybe it's connected somehow.
String theory. Now I
Yeah.
believe in string theory. That's it. Yep, we're done. We have figured it out. Everything's connected. String theory. Done. No
Thank you.
science needed, just music. That, and like when I was a musician, I wrote with one of the cool things about you where you were talking about music and math. And because they do studies on it, is like early childhood education. If you guys if with children is get them into music early, even if they're not playing, listen to have them listen to music, but then have them start playing. That's why they started in like middle school now, is because it helps brain development and it helps
Mhm.
specifically with the maths and sciences because you're processing at a really high speed, both
Yeah.
frequency and time, and you're combining them in a very intellectual way that's very natural for humans to do because music is very human. Um, well, it's
I also
very
read
animal in general, but humans have trained ourselves to do it with multiple instruments in a way that other animals haven't. Um, and so I think it's just really cool what
I al-
music can do.
I also read that the music theory language is processed in the brain in the same way as any other language would be.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, like I can speak music
Yeah,
better than
it
I
is.
can other languages because I learned it.
Yeah, it follows so many of these same patterns, and really, when you think about all the rules and things that you can and can't do, it's hard for me to dissociate it from languages. Really,
Mhm. Walter,
Now,
I'll send you a piece or two so you can listen. Um,
the ocean composition, I really want to listen to because, like I said, I just listen to my ocean waves, but it disappears after a minute, and it's just to drown out the noise of the house, rather than me telling them, "Be quiet out here, be quiet." I'll just handle this myself. That's all. You always, if you handle the problems yourself, you're always happier. But I
I'll
was going to
send
ask
you a
you,
I'll send you a
okay.
piano solo that I had recorded um
Oh,
a long time ago. It's called Water Jazz, thinking about music and sound and colors. Is I have two pieces actually, piano solos. One is Water Jazz.
nice.
It's like 12.5 minutes long. It's it has a repeating melody in it that is the only melodic structure of the entire piece, but it's been changed. So the actual structure of the piece is based off of a triplet and two eighths. So it's dot, 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 dot. That's it. That's your entire piece. And that is repeated throughout the entire 12.5 minutes with so much other structure going on, but it's one of my favorite pieces. And then I have a ballad. I think it's Prelude, a ballad in blue, which was a jazz sort of jazzish piano piece that I did too. I like color when I felt color when
Yeah,
I was writing. Not I didn't really see it, but I felt it.
yeah.
So I totally get it.
I think you should release these as posts. One of my friends, he's a musician, and I'm just like, you should come to Substack and release your songs as posts on. Why wouldn't you do that? And you can set it up to a podcast. I think people would appreciate getting stuff like that every now and then. You should do that too, Ben.
yeah, I've really been thinking of leaning more into the multimedia aspect of Substack and bringing some of my talents together. Because one another thing that I've actually been really curious to see how it would be received on Substack is a lot of my drone footage. I've actually gotten pretty good
Oh,
at drone photography in the last couple years, and
nice.
I've wondered how exactly to begin sharing that on here. But it would be very cool if I could find a way to connect writing and music and drone photography in some neat package. But might be
E-
tricky to figure that out.
Even if you just did it as your featured image. Have you ever
Yeah.
jumped on Photoshop and you can transform an overhead shot into like a tilt? You know what a tilt shift shot is, where you blur the top and the bottom and it looks like a
Mhm.
model. So
Yeah.
you could do something like that, and those become really striking featured images that end up, you get people to click. Everybody gets the same old thing on the stock photos, so that's why I try to use
Hmm.
my own featured images.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really should lean into that more because the drones do take pictures that aren't accessible to a lot of people, and I think that there's a big misconception around drones that they're harder to learn than they really are, and it keeps people from ever exploring them. And I'm really thankful that I did. I had a friend who showed me them and gave me a glimpse into how attainable the talent really is. So then I bought one on Amazon myself and was mm,
Yeah.
taking great pictures and videos within a week or two. But uh, migrating a little bit toward film and TV, are
Well,
have
we've
there
covered, I
been
think, escapist delight, so we've been
yeah,
true to our
it's true.
content.
Everything is
Yeah.
escapism. It's nothing falls out of the escapism umbrella. But what have there been any shows or movies that have stood out for you two recently?
What have you been watching, Nick?
I think, well, the movie that I've been watching the most recently, two movies specifically, are the Jurassic Park series,
Uh,
because my son is really into them.
Yeah.
And we love dinosaurs in our house. So like
yep.
everybody in our house likes dinosaurs. So we watch
Everybody.
everybody. Like I think everybody needs to, I think adults would be happier if everybody started asking each other like what their favorite dinosaur was
I,
again.
I
I was
agree.
almost
Because
going
I
to ask
agree.
you that just now. I'm like, what's your favorite
my
dinosaur?
favorite dinosaur is the uh Carcharodontosaurus. I don't know
Okay.
if it's a real dinosaur, but it was in a book that I used to read my son, and we used to say it together, and it was really fun because he learned how to say that word as a little kid, and hearing him say Carcharodontosaurus was my favorite dinosaur,
I,
hands
I
down
a
babys
favorite.
video of him saying it over
I
and over.
babys
That'd be
I,
good.
I babysat for this 4-year-old, and his ability to pronounce some of
Yeah.
those ridiculously long dinosaur names was just absurd to me. Like he
Hmm.
struggle with 1 2 syllable words, but those dinosaurs had his interest enough for him to learn and memorize those words. He had a whole catalog of dinosaurs memorized. But I was telling Walter in a previous episode about Jurassic Park that there's such a huge philosophical intrigue for me of dinosaurs and the fact that these creatures really existed. Like it's
Hmm.
sad to me that in a way so many of us just like it's a childhood fascination and you kind of just grow out of it and you're like, oh yeah, dinosaurs existed. But every time I really pause and think about that fact, I'm just like, wow, that's freaking
Yeah.
crazy.
I think dinosaurs are how kids process the concept of death. I think that's why we're so fascinated. Because I remember deliberately, like, because when you're little, you have to learn not to sit there and be freaked out about how you're going to die one day. You're like, just don't think about that. Because all your parents can do is just don't think about that. So I think we become fascinated with dinosaurs as a way of like kind of a displaced way of processing these things were here and now they're not here.
I
That's
never
fascinating.
I never thought
Yeah.
about that, but it really
Yeah,
was kind of my first exposure to death or mass death of any sort.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, like,
This just happens. And it's like,
yeah,
I
what?
also I've also decided, and I have no proof of this, but I've decided that everyone who's MAGA did not watch A Land Before Time as a child and didn't
Ah,
learn
yeah,
about death
that's so.
in that way and never
oh,
saw that poor
Meh.
Brachiosaurus just ugh,
oh my
like
god,
they didn't
I know.
experience that death, and so they became MAGA. Like that's my
Or
theory. They didn't
Bambi.
watch it. They're just bad people because they don't understand Land Before Time. And if they watched it, maybe they'd change.
I prevented my kids from seeing Bambi. I was somebody gave me a box of the videos and I was going through them. I'm like, Bambi. I'm like, I don't have to subject my kids to this shit. Throw that in the garbage. Like, why do we have
I
that
think
one?
I have the Bambi VHS, to be totally
Yeah, I
honest.
threw it in the garbage.
There are
No,
so
The
I'm
many
thing
keeping
though
it
that ended
because
up
shows that
maybe
scaring my
somebody will buy it from me one day.
no, it'd be just torture. Some
Cross
kid will
my
be
fingers.
tortured by it again. We like felt an obligation to show people that. I'm just like, I'm going to overcome this.
Or
This
the
is a
Fox and
delete.
the
I'm
Hound.
censoring this history. No Bambi. It's like it didn't exist.
Yeah, or Fox and the Hound. Like it was so sad,
Oh
right?
Christ!
Nobody
Yeah,
needs
that
to
was
see
hard.
that.
yeah, there are
No,
so many shows
This
or
is what.
movies that I feel like are impossible to watch and end up on one side of the political arena. Like if you have seen certain movies, you are voting Democratic, and like I just yeah.
You know, and we brought that up with the Ari Aster's teacher. I've known a lot of kids growing up who just couldn't sit through and watch a movie. They just don't learn it. And I think that sits into
Yeah,
like learning to just sit and listen to a story. Like if you read to your kids, they just, because at first they're a little squirrely and then they're like, oh, there is some payoff here. If I just sit still and listen to this and kind of let myself be taken away by it.
right.
And some people just, and it's kind of sad that some people don't get that skill. But like a movie, there's people that can't sit still long enough to watch a movie, and I've had a lot of friends like that too, so they
yeah.
figure it out eventually.
The other good movie though that I've been watching, and it's sort of because of my kids, but we then took it over, is K-pop Demon Hunter.
Yeah,
Ah,
I was gonna ask. My
that's
kids have been
funny.
watching that on repeat all summer.
Oh my God,
I
it's so good.
I
So
Yeah,
heard it.
I like
I
it more than my daughter does.
did you hear
the
it got a
music from it.
theatrical release?
Oh yeah, there is a new release of it. Yeah, where it's
Oh,
just
they had
the
a sing along.
Yeah,
They
it
have a
was
sing
so
along. Oh, they're
popular
doing
on.
a theatrical release, you said?
Yeah, I think it was so popular on Netflix that it's possible I'm wrong about this, but I think it's the very first movie or animated movie to
Wow.
go from Netflix to an actual theatrical release afterward.
That'd be cool. They
It'd
are
Yeah.
be
going to
fun
make
to
a
see it on a
second, I've
good,
heard.
on a huge sound system. That would be excellent. But yeah, it was neat how that's kind of outside of the system of animated films as we know them, and it's just like, see, there are like super talented people who can make
Yeah.
good things that are engaging. We just don't hire them for the big studios here.
Yeah. And I thought it was really cool because they like, it's not actually a K-pop band that they use for it, but K-pop is a really specific style and you have to be really good at it to actually do it right. And they did such a good job. Like,
Yeah.
and I say that only because my wife spent time and lived in Korea for a couple years when she was in the army. She was stationed there. So she got to experience K-pop and she still keeps up with Korean culture. Like she watches Korean soap operas in our house. So that's instead of normal soap operas, we watch Korean soap operas, which is if you think soap operas are ridiculous, listen to them in Korean because then you're like, what the hell? It's just even more ridiculous sounding now. Um, but the music is great
Oh
in
yeah.
K-pop Demon Hunter,
Yeah.
and they did such a great job. And they used an American actress too for one of them, like she was half American. But apparently,
Okay.
the movie didn't do really well, did terribly in Korea, like
Interesting.
because it doesn't have all that glitzy and like normal Korean um pop to it. Like
Mhm.
Okay.
it's very muted compared to Korean culture. Like Koreans are very
Oh,
it doesn't have that bubbliness. Um or like that uh I'm trying not to mix like into the Japanese side of it, but like
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
trying to
know
think
they
of.
hate each other so
I'm
much at
trying to think of
times.
what exactly distinguishes Korean animation from anime, and I do kind of see them some of those customs as one and the same, and I don't really know where that delineation is. It would be interesting to get someone on who's more versed in that to talk about that, because I do have a few friends who
Yeah,
actually really, really do know that side of things much better than myself.
I just like the anime because of
oh,
fun.
that.
Yeah, it
Well, we
kind of
could do a
reminds me
deep
a bit
dive
of the
into
role
all the old.
that Avatar: The Last Airbender played for kids in exposing
Hmm.
Americans to an Americanized version of anime, and as a result, it was a lot of people's very first anime. And I think it was my first anime, and I think it when I did finally watch a few actual animes that it kind of helped me wet my feet beforehand.
There's all these kind of cool like fantasy anime movies too from the 80s. You've probably seen them, Nick. I got to remember them all, but I just got because I would always just catch them on like bad television screens where it was all like washed out with snow because we had a coat hanger
Like
stuck in the television to see things.
turning it on the roof. I remember
Yeah, you're
having to
trying to
be on the
right.
roof,
Oh, I
turn
gotta
that
watch this awesome show.
stupid
It's like
fucking antenna.
anime fantasy with this quest with elves and stuff. And I'm just like, I gotta see this. I like those, like the old version of The Hobbit, or oh, I think I told you
Hmm.
once I had my kids. I'm like, we're gonna watch the 1978 animated version of The Lord of the Rings. And put it on. I made my kids start to watch it. They're like, Daddy. And then like, yeah, Gandalf is doing
Please save me.
motion. And I'm just like, I'm like, we got to memorize these hand motion Gandalf's doing, and then like go to a Comic Con or something, and then just start like doing the exact hand motions. These are the kind of pranks. These are the pranks I think of. And then somebody's like, wait a minute, you're doing Gandalf from the Ralph Bakshi Lord. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I don't know
I
what
know.
you mean. This is not him.
Yeah, to get it
It's
that
like the
precise would be
old
really funny.
Ewok TV shows where they were like the animated.
Oh yeah, the Caravan of Courage.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you remember the Ewok movies? Um, like
yeah.
where they,
Caravan of Courage, and what is the other one? The Ewok Adventure. That's what it's called.
yeah, where they got stuck on the planet and the kids were like, oh my God, it's all of that is just, it makes
Those
me
are
feel
on
good.
Disney.
Yeah.
My yeah. Well, we
I don't pay
we
for
we
Disney anymore.
we dug one of those off to watch with the girl. we dug one of them off to watch with the girls, and I was like, I couldn't help but just start making fun of it. My wife got really mad because she had all these positive memories. It's like we all went to the Caravan of Courage, and she's like, you need to be quiet. She got she another time she got mad at me. Have you ever seen where somebody takes the dancing scene from Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze? But they put in the music from the Muppets, so it's like that, and Patrick Swayze's going along like this, and she left the room when I put that on. The kids were laughing. She's like, "No, that's sacred. We're not watching that." So sometimes I get in
we,
trouble.
we were
Nice.
trying so hard to find a movie to watch last night that all three of us could agree on. My dad, my uncle, and I, and we realized that the issue was a three body problem. Do you do you
Yeah.
know what a three body problem is in physics? we we're three. I don't know if I could actually describe it all that coherently, but it's where three objects in space circle each other in such a way that it makes life inhospitable, essentially. Or
Oh.
this is something
They
that
got
Bob
a
Danik
show
could
on it
describe
too.
far better than myself.
Yeah,
But
you'd be better at it.
but the point
That was
being that
deep in the
the
cobwebs. I've heard about it.
but the point being that the Venn diagram between the three of our interests was so impossibly small that we spent 2 hours browsing and ended up on an episode of OA, which even still one of us could not get behind.
See,
so
we always
so
our guilty pleasure is Delicious in Dungeon. I would highly recommend anime. Delicious in
What's
Dungeon
that?
is a good one.
hmm,
It's literally about cooking, but it's D&D style,
huh,
and it's a Netflix
Ah,
one. It's only 2 seasons right now, and it's D&D
okay.
style, and they're
Do you
doing a
think
quest through this ever-growing, like deeper dungeon, trying to save one of the
they can
character's
cook?
sisters. But the throughout the whole thing, they need to forage for food, and so they decide to eat the monsters and cook them, and it's all like that, like super like beautiful looking trays of food after, and
Okay.
they go through and they're talking about like, I'm going to use this style of cooking and I'm going to cut, and it's so good. It's so funny, so fun, and you can binge it
That
in a day. I promise you,
it's
it
like
is
nailed it,
worth
but with Dungeons and
every
Dragons.
moment. Yeah,
I hadn't heard of that one.
Did you ever see the Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine that came out a couple years ago?
I
I,
liked it.
I actually kind of liked it. I'm just like, this served the purpose I needed it to serve.
It was as ridiculous as Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah,
I
they had the oh I can't the treasure chests that are monsters that come out.
The
I'm like, that's all
mimics.
I needed to see. Yeah, it's perfect.
I've seen enough of the Dungeons and Dragons world to know that I should commit and would love it if I did, but I haven't fully gotten there yet, so I never got around to seeing the movie
There
as
was
a
a
result.
nostalgia.
But I'm glad
Yeah,
that
there was a
the
nostalgia
D and
factor in
D
that movie.
crowd. I'm glad the D&D crowd finally has a movie of their own because they deserve it. They're
Yeah,
Well, we have a
yeah,
couple,
because the
but
old ones are
all of them
bad.
are unwatchable.
The old
Yeah.
ones are bad.
Well, we have movies like The Beastmaster, where all they did was just lather up some, buff guy, and it's like, and then paint a tiger, and that was,
I mean, you
the
guys,
Beast. Have you ever watched The Beastmaster, Ben?
no,
Do you
I
know
haven't
that
seen that one.
movie?
No.
Oh God, I know
it's
Nick
like
knows
Conan the
it. You know that.
Barbarian.
Yeah, it's got Mark Singer. We used to call him Guntar Bacon, though. We said he was Kevin Bacon's older brother, Guntar, because that's what he kind of looked like. And he talks to the animals, of course, and it's just awful. It used to be like constantly on TNT, like it would be on TNT like 24 hours a day, so you could pick it up there. So I'm kind of surprised you haven't seen it. You could probably find some fun Reddits where people are talking about the Beastmaster. Nobody go and watch it. Everybody watching, don't watch the Beast. I'm not endorsing it. It's just kind of fun.
This is not a movie endorsement. Please do not take this as one. It's
Read
like
about it.
saying,
It's funnier that way.
eh, yeah, like don't bring your kids to the Alien movie and expect them to have fun. That's still a
Oh
movie I have
man.
to see. Is the newest Alien movie. Like I love those movies. That's a great saga.
Oh,
Yeah.
Romulus, I think is the latest one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. That's on Hulu, I think, right?
I think so,
available.
which I don't have access
As long
to
as I don't have to
anymore.
pay.
Yeah, the Alien movies are some of the few movies that I think have aged very well from that era. I'm not sure if you were aware of this already, but I'm a bit of a modernist as far as a lot of my entertainment taste goes. Pre 1980 can
Ah,
be a bit tricky for me. I'm not sure when the first Alien came out, but yeah, that is a movie whose special effects have aged pretty terrifically.
1979
actually,
was the first
Yeah.
Alien movie.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I got a kind of funny story about that. It's Cameron because before I started writing stories for my kids, I would just tell them stories. So one day I'm like, "Here's a love story," and then I told them Terminator, but as if it was a love story. And then like just because then like I wanted to like plant that seed. So then like a few years later we'd watch the actual movie and they think it
Like,
was a
this is
love story. They're like, "What the fuck is this, Daddy?" I like doing things like that.
you told us this was a love story. There
Well,
is
it is
love in
a love
it.
story.
See, she dies see, she gives birth, the baby,
He's got
love,
that
right?
Polaroid.
It is
She
a
takes
love
that
story.
Polaroid. Yeah,
It
it's
kind of
love.
is.
He goes,
Just,
he travels through time to meet his love and save the world.
yeah, it's
I
a love story just with a lot of violence in the middle.
Yeah, well, just disregard the violence and then focus on the love story.
I watched Apocalypse Now for
Good
the
advice for life, I think.
I I watched Apocalypse Now for the first time a few months ago, and for some
Oh, really?
reason, something about that title just screamed satire or comedy to me, and that was not the movie that I
You
walked
left.
into.
Oh boy. Oh, you thought it was Tropic Thunder, so you got
Yeah, yeah.
Apocalypse
So
Now.
That's a
there's like
good
just like a
movie.
levity to that title. I don't know it, but yeah, no, it did not live up to that expectation.
There was the Redux that came out, which was much better. I thought I liked that one. I got to see that in the theater in Peru years ago, but yeah, I like the
Oh,
extended version.
It didn't leave a
somebody
terrific
asked.
impression on me. It was a good movie, but I think that it was one of those ones that might have just predated me a bit too much to fully connect.
It's a theater one. You have to really let it absorb
Yeah,
you to
yeah.
really work, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a question from one of my uh, good subscribers, Sunny. She asked what our favorite sci-fi or fantasy that scared the shit out of us.
Mm.
Oh
Um,
God.
Mine was Event Horizon. Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
Sunny
that one
doesn't
was
know that
hard.
one, so I'm going to explain it super quick. They learn how to fold space, but in folding space, they go to hell and come back out. And when they come back out, they like pull their eyeballs out and they're speaking Latin for some reason because hell is in Latin. I still haven't figured that out, but they figured out how to go faster than like by folding space. And a ship called the Event Horizon went into
Yeah.
hell and back, and they're trying to figure, and it's floating around Europa area, and they're trying to figure out what happened. And it's scary as shit.
I
I think
saw that when I was all depressed about other things, and it just wasn't the right choice for me at the time. But the demonstration of the wormhole is really good in Event Horizon.
Yeah, yeah, they did. I mean, the science didn't sound terrible. It was just where you went to. It sounded like you were going through Doom and back. Um, and I
Well,
don't want
you
to go
bend the
into it.
fabric of space time, and then you're at the place you need to go to. So that actually is what a wormhole is. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I, where my
what's
mind
your
goes,
scary sci-fi?
where my mind goes are Signs by M. Night Shyamalan. I think was a really great blend of sci-fi and horror. Um, I really liked the cowering in the house and just like wondering about the future of humanity scenes, and also what was the second one I was about to bring up there? Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect was really
Oh,
really fucked up and disturbing for me. Oh man, yeah, that one. It's not even a terrific movie by a lot of standards, but man, that one really kind of fucked with me. It's like more disturbing than it needs to be in a lot of parts.
the movie that scared me most by far of all time was Poltergeist, and it was because it got released as a PG movie instead of as an R movie. And like
Oh
even to
God.
this day, I did like a review. I saw, I was like 7. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we thought this was like a Steven Spielberg movie. And I had a big old tree. There's a scene where a tree eats a kid, and I had a tree outside my window. at where I live. And like even today, like not too long ago, I for some reason I was searching, I was writing an article about how much poltergeist scared me, and so I searched the term, and like this picture of a clown came up, and I'm like, fuck. And there's like I totally
Nope.
forgot. I like blocked it from my head. This evil clown. I'm like, oh yeah, that was in there. Thanks, internet. It's giving me a heart attack again 50 years later. So
Ruin my
yeah,
day again.
I had to purge it from my memory once more. It turns out I'm better at that than I realize. Just because until those memories come back, you don't know how many of them you've pushed away. So scary thing to think about. Yeah.
I forget if I brought it up on the show in the past, but Click with Adam Sandler was another
Oh yeah.
example of being absolutely hoodwinked by the ad campaign for a movie. They really just
It's another
portrayed
bait
that
and switch.
as a lighthearted Adam Sandler just laugh at the girl with her tits
Yeah.
running by movie
It was
and like
not.
That's the
and
one you'll actually have a moment of realization, like when he's laying in bed, like crying, and you're just like,
yeah,
wait a minute.
yeah,
What the fuck? You're like,
it
why am I
it
here?
it 180s on you so hard. Like the second half of that movie just turns into this existential nightmare. And like me and my friends were just like adolescents walking into that movie, like 10, 11 years old, and just literally just expected the most lighthearted afternoon. And I remember we walked out of that theater a rainy day, just like looking at each other in the car, like, damn, did we just experience the fuck?
We could do a whole talk on movies that 180 on you. That would be a
Oh
good one
yeah.
to just brainstorm on and bring some in.
It's sort of like the Brave Little Toaster. Like that movie's supposed to be
Mm,
cute and nice, but it is so freaking scary. That movie is
mm.
so freaky.
I
Especially not my experience, but seeing it from third person is individuals who are having their own illicit experiences during that movie, um, where they may be tripping on something and seeing dragons of their own. The toasters are so scary. Like the whole plot of that movie is so freaky. Um,
I revisited that one recently, and it was a really interesting experience because that's one of those movies that was just in the deepest depths of my childhood, just like a few lingering images. And when I rediscovered it, it was just a revelation for me. And you're right, there is a real like creepy undertone to those. A lot so many shows and movies, like, I didn't understand, like, were just not the kind of things that you show kids, like, oh, man, Courage the Cowardly Dog and Invader Zim were 2 creepy cartoons that had no
Courage, I
business.
love that show.
Oh my god.
That was that was a lot of my like late childhood because the internet finally came out and I was in Vermont and we got things always like a couple years late. Um, so I didn't have high speed internet or more than 3 TV channels until I was like 12 or 13. Um, so my favorite shows growing up, like that type of stuff, once I got into them was Courage. But like before that, it was always, this is going to go into your zone, Walter. I hope you remember some of these. Obviously, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original.
Yeah, yeah.
We had, what is it? Street Sharks. I used to watch Thundercats. Um,
Understand.
I love Chitara. That's how I knew I wasn't. That's how I knew I liked
Yeah.
women young. Um, and I mean, I liked He-Man too. So I got into both. Um, the new He-Man is also super awesome. If you haven't seen it yet on Netflix, the new
Ah.
He-Man, Masters of the Universe with Mark Hamill as Skeletor. Um, there's
Oh,
Masters of the Universe, and then there's Revelations or whatever it is. Um, um, what or Revolution or something. It's so good. Um, mostly Mark Hamill's just freaking awesome. Um, but like Thundercats, my first words were turtle power.
yeah.
So I have the turtle shells tattooed on my sides because that was my
Oh,
favorite show.
nice.
My mom is
I like
always eager to
Thundar.
tell the story of my first tantrum over SpongeBob SquarePants. They had no idea what this show was, but one day I just started screaming, "SpongeBob! SpongeBob!"
because you'd been
but
watching it somehow.
but I guess I discovered it on my own on Nickelodeon, but it was in the pre-on-demand days, so I definitely had to. They just left the TV on, and I watched
Oh,
it or something.
yeah.
But we're
That's
a
when
little
parents
bit,
discover how little influence.
but we're a
We're a
little
little
bit
over.
over an
Yeah,
hour now, and it's been a delightfully tangential conversation. We'd love to have you back
it
on
is.
sometime,
Feels
Nick.
like the stress just flows out.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to come back sometime. This was a lot of fun getting
Yeah, we'd love
to
to
take
have
a
you.
break.
Creating connections like this is fun, and we got to
Yeah.
remember to have some mental health and just talk about fun stuff.
Agreed. Yeah. These
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
conversations are always a delight, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Walter. Thanks, Ben.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.